Ne area see mwa yedin, uyan bapa obedo. Ashewechi, asisiewechi, aya upwafo I pray more. And I'ma call myself Shiro. I'm a radio presenter, a millennial, and a traveling African. And that was a bit of my first single called Shiro, which was my oath to my ideal African woman. So from the period of my teens, I loved me a good fashion magazine that was filled with all kinds of ideas when it comes to hair, makeup. I love me a good magazine. So this was an experience I had around 2006 where an international magazine was launched in the Netherlands. I was excited and I subscribed right away. Yay! The magazine is successful, it's still there, and I remember that particular magazine celebrating its 25th edition. So in one of their editions, they had all of their amazing 25 covers lined up on 2 pages. Exciting. I realized one thing. The covers of the magazine were so beautiful, but no African woman was on there. My gosh, not even a Beyonce. Come on. This spoke volume to me. I had an emotion and I felt overlooked. I felt like I had a story that needed to be told or addressed, but I couldn't find it within this magazine. I needed that story about my hair regimen, my hair type, my culture, my food. So that's where my search for this My Familiar Face began. End of subscription. An interesting thing about millennials is I ran into a video recently that talked about millennials, and they talked about a problem that we have. And that specific problem is that we are not able to, let's say, tune into reality because we're so much into creating our own content. The social media, creating a perfect world, perfect makeup, destinations, you name it. So that was ultimately our problem that was described from that video. I mean, content creating, it's bigger than ever. We can create any content. I can influence how you think about brands like Nike and you name it. And I can invite you to joining me into crazy social media challenge like the Ice Bucket Challenge. I mean, come on. That's all within the power of the millennial. I added that piece of knowledge to my frustration regarding the magazine, and I thought, you know what? I need to do something about this. Why don't I use my power to create something that can help me add something to this story as I'm searching for this face that is familiar to me? So I said, you know what? Let me start a blog. 2010 it was. I started my own African fashion blog solely for the traveling African, because that's how I call myself, and all of my other African sisters that were born and raised outside of Africa, but still were connected somehow to the African continent. Let me start on my journey. So on my journey began. I was now using my power to collect stories, to go and find out and travel. I met up with the people behind the London Africa Fashion Week, Barcelona, Paris, you name it. And I loved each and every story. It somehow communicated to me this passion of wanting to celebrate where we come from and also shaping this familiar face that I was looking for. So gathering stories it was. One of the most interesting story that I talked to with one of a lady, and she was quite frustrated because she was often asked, what are you actually? Do you feel more African or do you feel more European? And I could identify with this because this question is often asked to me so many times. We were both discussing, and she had a passion of instilling a love for Africa within her kids, sharing her stories, her experiences, all relating to the African continent. So she, however, was frustrated with why should there be any difference with the woman from the continent. So that made me kind of shape up my story searching and think, whoa, I need to find now a story that can link or look onto where we could find a common ground, where the traveling African has a common place with the African from the continent, or should I say, the woman from the other side. So as a presenter, because my blog grew, I went on to doing radio. As a musician, I now had the responsibility not to only show my God-given gift or my potential, but also to add and make sense of this story that I'm still trying to complete. Often traveling to Ghana, where I originally come from, or where my parents come from, you name it, I got in touch with this organization called Women Rising. Now, Women Rising focuses solely on women, entrepreneurship, empowerment, connecting women with the greats, and you name it. So all of these events they would organize. And the interesting thing is that Ghana is one of the, or 2018, Ghana is that one country that is creating women entrepreneurs more than any other country. And they're predicting that when it comes to the economy of Ghana, women will play a major, major part in that. So without women, Ghana can't do. So I related with all of these particular women, from product owners, entertainers, local market sellers, and I realized one thing. We had so much in common. We were both looking for the same hair products. We were rocking the same African printed hat tie and the African printed skirt, and even moving to the same Afrobeats tune. Hey. Amazing. So my common ground, I finally found that common place where we could relate to each other. My search for the local story, for my culture, for my heritage, and their interest in the African with an international approach. Amazing. I felt like my search finally had a place where I could see that face in front of me. So many faces, actually. So as a millennial, African traveler, an entertainer, doing so much within my gift and within my talent, I would like to invite everybody, especially the millennials, to use the power that you have. Even if it is that we're not really that connected to the real world, let's use the power that we have. I used it. It started off with a blog, made me travel, made me look for content. I used my power to share the content that I was looking for and help me to meet this woman, my familiar face, as it is the woman from the other side. So help me and join me, you my fellow content creator, as we bring more definition and shape to this African face. Thank you.